David Guzman inside the NBC4 Digital Center for the latest edition of NBC4 Sports Extra. And great news, everyone. From here on out, we're talking football at least through, I don't know, January at least, because who knows. But yeah, training camp, fall camp is coming up this week. Here to talk about it with me, we bring back in the gang, Whitney Harding, Joe Nugent. Guys, we are, as of this recording, a couple days away from fall camp. I mean, who's excited to be talking about football from here on out?
It's hot outside.
It's hot.
That's my concern.
It's supposed to get better, though, according to Dave Maas and the Storm Team 4 weather people.
I'm holding him to that because it's miserable today.
This first week, actually, considering that we're going to get the first 3 days open to fans, we're crossing our fingers, but I think this is going to be the best weather we're gonna get for camp. That being said, let's talk about camp for a bit. I don't think we're going to get many questions answered in these first couple of days, especially considering that fans will be there. But I think it's going to be great to just see the guys back on, see the ones and the twos. Obviously, like everyone's going to be talking about the quarterback situation. We're not really going to delve into it that much. Just knowing that it's between Lincoln Kienholz and Julian Sayin, and I think in our minds we kind of know how that's going to go. But we shall see, and we have many weeks of camp to talk about it. But guys, other than that, race, what are some of the other competitive spots that stick out to you guys the most?
I'm really curious to see what's going on in front of the quarterbacks on the offensive line. Austin Sareveld definitely played
How many positions will he
exactly.
play?
Like, where's he going to be? How is this going to go? Played a lot of tackle in the spring. Certainly in the mix at tackle. Ethan Anianwa. I'm looking forward to seeing him because, early in camp, we can't draw any conclusions.
Yeah.
The coaches aren't really drawing any conclusions. But you can see what people look like and how they've changed over the last 3 months. And I'm curious to see what Big E looks like when camp starts.
That's easier to say than Anianwa, so we'll
is.
go with Big E. I'm flip it. I'm interested to see the defensive line. Entire starter and defensive line gone. It's all gone. So who is going to win those spots? There's some names that we know, some names that we've seen. So I'm curious to see that. I am curious to see also what we can tell what CJ Hicks is up to.
Right.
Like, where is he lining up? Where is he going to be? Is he roaming around? Like, I'm very curious to see where. Again, don't know how much we'll see, but those are some things that I think are really interesting.
Yeah, and how about Edric Houston named to the Outland Trophy watch list as a sophomore? Remember, a guy who moved to the interior of the defensive line midway through the season last year. This is going to be his first full season at this spot, and he's already on a watch list like that. That's a big deal.
Yeah, the talent's there. It's curious to see the chemistry and who goes where.
Especially for a defense that is now led by Matt Patricia. And we really didn't get to see much coming out of the spring because everything was so new and everything was, install. So I'm interested to see how the defense is really going to kind of shape up because that is one of the biggest question marks going into, the season opener against Texas. A couple of names that stood out to me from the spring was a lot from the transfers, especially from that spring game. Just kind of running through some names like, C.J. Donaldson from West Virginia. We got former Purdue tight end Max Clare. I remember Mylan Graham turned a lot of heads in that spring game. Any names that also kind of maybe from the new faces, amongst the incoming freshmen and as well as the transfers, any names kind of stick out to you guys?
Yeah, well, we've got the battle at safety between Jalen McClain and Malik Hartford. We've seen Malik play for a few years at Ohio State. Jalen coming on as of late, but it was interesting in the offseason. Emeka Egbuka was asked, hey, what's the one player that nobody's really talking about or not too many people are talking about right now, but you think that'll change once the season starts? He said Jalen McClain.
All right.
So I think that's a good place to start.
I think as far as freshmen, Devin Sanchez is impressive. I mean, just to see, you can't teach height.
Yep.
You can't teach size.
Yep.
And for the corner position, he's incredible.
Yep.
And he really looked like he was just fitting right in spring ball, which is amazing for a true freshman. So it's going to be interesting to see in the summer what kind of work in the weight room Mick and they've all done with him and what that's going to look like coming into fall.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that completely.
It's 95 outside.
I know. Like, what are we doing? But you need that whole like 1 month like kind of ramp up. A lot of what camp is not from what we see on the field, which granted is going to be a fraction of what actually happens. It's going to be a lot of what people say and who's going to be stepping up as some of the vocal leaders. I think we got a bit of a taste of that coming off of Big Ten Media Days, with Sonny Styles, Jeremiah Smith, just to name a few, Caleb Downs. It's funny, like Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, they both enter this season still with kind of a chip on their shoulder a bit. I don't think Caleb Downs has ever forgiven himself for, how he did in that first regular season game against Oregon. And I think Jeremiah Smith, he's still kind of kicking himself for, I believe it was the Cotton Bowl, that, he wasn't the big playmaker that he could have been. These are national champs and they're coming in saying they still have something to prove. What other big storylines are you guys kind of looking forward to going into camp that you will probably shape out in these next couple of weeks?
Well, you talked about Steve Donaldson a minute ago as part of that 1-2 punch at running back with James Peoples. It was really interesting to watch how he was used in the spring game. Throwing to the running backs over and over again, more than what we've really seen in this offense through the years.
Well, his body totally changed.
That too.
So that was interesting too, because we all assumed he'd be the bruiser.
Yeah.
And then, here he is catching passes out of the backfield and making quick cuts and doing those kinds of things.
And, and you were talking about how Jeremiah comes into this with a chip on his shoulder. Obviously, at this time a year ago, we were all really curious to see what Jeremiah looked like.
He was good.
But last week in Las Vegas, Ryan said he's bigger, faster, and stronger. So I'm sort of interested to see what that looks like.
It's so terrifying. I'm excited to see Carnell Tate. I always am excited to see Carnell Tate because I feel like Carnell is overlooked because you have JJ. But man, Carnell is a really great option. And then Brandon Ennis finally getting his chance to not just be a special teams pro, which he is. He's great on special teams. But I'm so excited to see what leadership he can bring on the field as a starter this year.
Yeah, and he's a great example. When people look at Ohio State from afar, like, well, they're replacing all these starters. But there's a lot of guys
who have played minutes.
Exactly. Like Brandon had that big touchdown against Penn State in Happy Valley last year. Had that big catch on third down in the national championship game against Notre Dame. Like he's done it in the biggest games. So he's not going to be overwhelmed as a first-time starter.
Yeah. I think the biggest question, after all of said and done, is this a team that can repeat, can do it again? And obviously, I think it's kind of early to really know the answer to that question. But I mean, let's throw it out there. Like, what is your opinion about how this team can do? What are the chances of them, being able to do it all again, especially considering that they have to start right off the bat with a Texas team that has revenge on its mind?
I think as far as talent, and if they continue to go there we go. I'd make sure I was on camera. This direction, yes, they can. Because so much of it now, because of a playoff, it's who you're facing. So I think some of the reasons they may or may not repeat may not necessarily be who they are as a team, but who they come across. We see it in the basketball tournament all the time. Matchups are now a part of college football. They always happen, but now it truly is. If you get a team that you just don't match up well with, I mean, look at Penn State against Ohio State, like however many years now. Penn State's always a good team. Ohio State's a terrible matchup for them. And part of that's because Ohio State's very good.
Yeah.
But it's a bad matchup.
Yep. I think Ohio State has as good of a chance at this as anybody. I don't think we come into this season with, a team like Ohio State last year where you're like, wow, this is the favorite to win the national title.
I mean, the only team that's really put the money like that we glaringly know about is Penn State.
Right.
That is invested.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how it plays out for the Lions this year. They probably come to Columbus more confident than they have the last several trips, right?
They have to, yeah.
Especially considering it's the last one for a bit. So
yeah,
I think that's definitely also on, maybe not immediately on their minds,
bummer.
but I know. But at least we can savor it all in, right? We got weeks to talk about it, but this is a good start. Training camp starting on Thursday, July 31st. The season starts on August 31st. All right, we'll be back. We're actually going to take a look back at an event that happened a year ago. That's coming up next on NBC4 Sports Extra. We're back here on NBC4 Sports Extra. A little bit of a wardrobe change for me, and I'll explain in just a little bit. But can you believe it's been 1 year since the Paris 2024 Olympics? I can't talk Olympics without this guy, Orri Benatar, digital producer here. So by the way, we did not prep for this segment at all, but I was like making the rundown for today's show, and I was like, I don't think we can not talk about that it's been a year since the Paris Olympics. I was like, you know what, let's just do it. But we had no prep, which is, I think, the best way to go about it, because it's really what the memories stick out to you the most from your head. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy that it's been 1 year, because it's felt like it's gone really fast. So we'll do it this way. What memories stick out to you the most? Give me like maybe 2 or 3, and of course I'll weigh in as well.
Well, outside of the actual games and the events of the games, the fact that, you know, we worked throughout those 2 weeks and did so much content. I don't think there's any sporting event that I can remember so vividly than Paris, because, I mean, I made a graphic for every medalist. We did live blogs for every day, went over every event.
It was a marathon, man.
A marathon of content, which makes me remember everything about it. And still to this day, you know, looking back at it, I still think it's the best Olympics ever.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just from a sporting perspective, there were so many good games. There were so many close races. There were so many good events. Just everything about it. Venues, unlike anything we've ever seen in Olympics, because we weren't alive in 1924, the last time the Olympics were in Paris. So not going to remember that one. But, you know, just a tremendous games, and really got us back into the right mindset of what an Olympics should be, considering, you know, Tokyo, COVID, Beijing, COVID, 2018 Winter Games in South Korea, hard to watch. So Rio was really the last time we had a games that was truly very memorable for a lot of American audiences, just because we were able to watch time zone. Yeah, we were able to watch stuff live. Paris just was incredible.
For me, I mean, as I was getting ready for the show, I remembered, it was like 1 year ago when, you know, the men's gymnastics team won that incredible bronze medal in the team event with Steven Nederazic, you know, kind of pulling out all the stops in his pommel horse. And it's just one of so many memories that I had from last year. I mean, obviously Simone Biles' redemption. You know, I started watching Court of Gold on Netflix last night because I was like, it's been a year. And it's, by the way, it's a really good series. If you're looking for something to watch, Court of Gold on Netflix, kind of following the whole basketball tournament. I mean, even just remember that middle weekend with, Novak Djokovic,
Scottie Scheffler, and Noah Lyles all winning on that second Sunday.
So insane to think of. And like, I mean, even just like from an Ohio perspective, I mean, with Hunter Armstrong being part of that relay team on, you know, I believe it was like the first or second day.
First day, yeah.
I remember for me personally, you know, I was in Paris for like the first, 3 or 4 days, like being able to watch France win the gold medal in rugby with one of their best, rugby players ever to have played the sport. Antoine Dupont playing in that gold medal game. I mean, there's so many. We can't look back at all of them, but it's quite incredible to think that it was a year ago that we had all those memories.
It's kind of insane just because, I mean, that was also just an onrush of sports in Central Ohio too. Remember, we were in the midst of all that soccer going on, Leagues Cup was getting going.
We had Euros.
We had the MLS All-Star game here. We had, we just finished the Euros. We had the Manchester City-Chelsea game at Ohio Stadium, and that was all in the midst of just watching what was just such a fun Olympics. And I think for me, especially being in the newsroom for that and seeing everybody just rally around Team USA, rallying around Simone Biles, rallying around the track athletes, the swimming athletes, a one memory that sticks out is the awe that people in this newsroom felt when they saw Mondo Duplantis break the pole vault world record. And I can tell you, we're probably two of maybe two people that knew who Mondo Duplantis was before these Olympics started.
Yeah.
It stopped
I remember it stopped the newsroom because this was really the first live Olympics that we had with NBC
since Rio.
And also like no one was keeping anything until prime time. This was really the first time that NBC as a whole and just really all of us as a whole was embracing live. couple more minutes left here. Let's talk legacy. You touched upon it a little bit. This really was the games that put the Olympics back on track. And also from an organizing standpoint, this was the games that really, put to the heart of reusing and not having white elephants. I mean, there were only 2 venues that were built specifically for these games,
Right.
one of which was the Aquatic Center. I think it really set the tone for future Olympics where you don't have to spend an exorbitant amount of money in order to host the games.
Yeah, I think one legacy point that sticks out with me for these Olympics, and I mean, outside of how good the sports was and how much, the world was able to really gather for 2 weeks, and what's obviously been a very crazy decade with so many, wars and other political events going on that might divide people in this globe. Those 2 weeks, things kind of stopped and people were able to really celebrate, which is why I love the Olympics and events like that and the World Cup in particular. But another legacy point that I have to think about is I think this Olympics is going to set the standard for future games where not everything is going to be in the one host city. And they might start having multiple countries host different events. For reference, Tahiti hosted surfing for Paris.
That's kind of cool, also kind of weird.
Oklahoma is going to host softball and canoe for the LA games. So outside of, Paris and LA and London all hosting recent summer games, these are the only 3 cities that are ever hosting the games 3 times. It might continue to set this precedent of we should be going back to these cities and not, forcing all these other countries to maybe build all this infrastructure they can't afford.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like what Paris did in terms of majority in Paris, and then you have clusters. I think clusters works really well because then you still have that feel without, having things too spread out. I'm not sure if we're going to, be having things like track in like Eugene, Oregon, and then swimming in New York. You know what I mean?
That does sound kind of cool, though. Not
from a TV standpoint, I guess. But I mean, having been going to an Olympics, like the whole point is that you can hit up multiple events at one time.
That's true.
So I think that's the beauty of being able to go, and there is a fan experience aspect to it as well. I think Paris did a really good job with setting a template for the future.
So I figure I ask you, since you've been to so many Olympics, is that your favorite one you've been to? And take out any touristy aspects of the city, purely based on going to events. Is that your favorite one?
I think so. I think it's 1-2 up there with London. But Paris just has a really different feel. It was so easy to get around places. It was very similar to London, with the exception of that, Paris didn't have an Olympic park per se. So I think it's up there because the whole city was your Olympic park, basically. I mean, if you ask me that tomorrow, maybe I'd have a different answer. But I think it was my favorite of all of them. Just for the setting, when you use the city as your backdrop, I think it's amazing.
Close the book. Paris, unbelievable. Best Summer Olympics of my lifetime.
Yeah.
Let's hope LA's better.
Happy 1-year anniversary to the Paris Olympics. All right, Orri Benatar, really appreciate the time. Can't talk Olympics without you. And we'll be right back here on NBC4 Sports Extra. And we're back here on NBC4 Sports Extra. I want to take a little time to get to know someone who's been part of the team this summer. We bring in Jadyn Cohee, a rising junior at Miami, Florida University of Miami, but also local here to Central Ohio. Graduate of Gahanna, is that correct?
Yep, graduated in 2023.
Okay. So first off, welcome to NBC4 Sports Extra. You've been with us for a few weeks now. How would you describe this internship experience so far?
David, it's been amazing. Everyone's been very caring. I've never once felt like, weird as an intern, awkward as an intern. You guys have clearly all cared about my well-being and my education and my future, and I really appreciate that. The connections I've made have been wonderful, and overall, everyone's just been very helpful. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, we've loved having you here. You bring so much energy to the team, especially during a time when we're kind of in our slow season. We're kind of like, meh, like football season's not here yet. But having you around has been great. So tell me, what got you interested in both journalism and specifically sports journalism?
So what got me interested is that when I was at Gahanna, we had a broadcast journalism program. And I started it because I loved writing. I honestly thought I was going to be like an author when I got older, like a novelist or something. And I got into it and, started doing different things, writing. And my teacher, shout out Mr. Lowry, who actually won Ohio, Teacher of the Year last year, he prompted me to start doing things like directing, reporting, stuff like that, going out and doing packages because I just love storytelling. And you had to start out doing the sports and then you got into the news part at Gahanna. That's how it worked. So I started out doing news, won a few awards, and I was like, wow, maybe I'm kind of good at this. And it kept going, and I just kind of built such a big, bubbly personality because of sports and because of broadcast journalism. And now being on air is literally what I do all the time.
Yeah, sports tends to bring out the personalities in all of us, for sure.
Yeah.
So tell us about your experience so far working with NBC4. What's it been like? What's been eye-opening for you? What's something that like you learned that you didn't think you would learn here, like something unexpected?
I think something that's been unexpected is just how quick everyone is. I mean, I'm used to having kind of deadlines. I'm a college student and all that, but I mean, you guys are so quick and on top of it. And I already had so much respect for the field of journalism. I think it's such a beautiful, noble pursuit. I have so much respect for everyone who does it. And I wish more people did, but I think you guys are so amazing of how on top of things you are, how quick you are, how much you guys see and deal with, but you hold it together so well because that's what you got to do when you're on air. So it just really baffled me of like how much you guys do and how well you keep yourselves put together. And so I have a lot of respect for that.
You're going to go back to school in a little bit. You're going to take all these lessons that you've learned. So what do you hope to kind of, use these skills now as you go into your final 2 years of college?
I've actually kept a notes app this entire internship of all of the tips that everyone has given me
As you
and
should.
all the things that you guys have helped me with. And I think I will take all of them. I think certain just little tricks. And I think also certain emotional kind of like strengths you guys have kind of given me of like, hey, look, like all these people have helped me. They've believed in me. They believe that I can do this and they have kind things to say about me. And that gives me a good boost of like, I can do this. Like going and looking at a career beyond college is very scary, but having people currently in the field who have been in the field, very experienced people, like everyone in our sports department is super experienced and talented. And the fact that you guys have even, compliments to say about me is very kind. And I take that very well. And it gives me a very nice confidence boost in how I can do.
So you've been doing a lot of things like, we've taken you out to some 7-on-7 workouts and some practices. We actually just had a crew game earlier. What's been your favorite experience so far, like maybe most notable? Because I feel like we've kind of taken you through a lot of different ones here.
Oh, the crew has been amazing because I love some soccer. I love soccer. I love the crew. So that's a really fun thing since I've grown up watching them, going and reporting on them again. And plus they just have such a great staff there and such a great team to report on. But I think also the Memorial Tournament was great because golf is a sport that I'm still learning a lot about. It's not something I report on a lot at Miami. And so it was cool learning a lot about how the sport works in and of itself and how to write about it, how to report on it. So that was a cool learning experience of just trying something outside of my comfort zone and just seeing what would happen.
Plus the Memorial has amazing desserts, I'm sure.
Oh, the milkshakes were great.
It's amazing.
Shout out to Joe Nugent. Thank you.
It's also fun getting to know you and your perspective, especially, I'm only 34, but I think, when you bring someone in college around this environment, we get a perspective that, a lot of us don't, just because, we're kind of in it. I'm wondering what's your perspective on media and kind of how it's evolving and changing and how, people in your generation are kind of consuming news and sports these days?
I mean, we're definitely consuming things through a more social media aspect, which is why I love that NBC4 is doing things like their app and they're devoting time to things like their Instagram, their Facebook, stuff like that. I think that's important because that's how we're consuming it. A lot of it in my generation is also being consumed through either Instagram or TikTok. So I like that you guys are dedicating time to the digital side of things, this digital platform. I think this is the way it's going to keep going.
You're making us blush.
Yes, and I like that you guys spread out and do stories about a lot of different things. Like you have the different, segments you guys do on different parts around Columbus. Shout out local businesses. I mean, I have family, like my entire family are local business owners and have been in this city for years. So that's really cool. And it touches me personally that you guys touch on so many different things because I think the cool thing about media is that it shows that there are so many different parts of life and so many different people you can connect with. And so, media needs to adapt to that and needs to be able to understand different perspectives and needs to talk to different people and appreciate their individual stories.
Yeah. Okay, last question. Bringing kind of background to sports, give us some insight into how the University of Miami is going to do on the football field. Because, we're so football obsessed, but we're also in our own little world with Ohio State. Bring us some perspective from down in Miami.
You see, I'm biased. I will fully admit,
as you should be.
I fully admit I'm biased on this one because I go there, but I think they're going to do well. You know, I think our defensive
it's the ACC,
side.
so I mean, the
ACC,
bar's kind of low.
I think that's not true. I think that our defensive side is getting a lot better. You know, we got Corey Heatherman coming as the new, you know, defensive leader there. And, you know, we got a lot of young guys that are now growing up. And, you know, the thing that I think everyone's focusing on is Carson Beck, you know, our quarterback, because we had such high expectations with Cam Ward, of course. Got a lot of pride for him there. But I think that because there are all those high expectations, I think these guys are motivated to deliver. And we got a lot of amazing young guys. I mean, Mario Cristobal is an incredible recruiter. You see anything on your Twitter, Instagram page, it's every person's getting recruited by Mario Cristobal to the U. And I love that. So I think that's a skill that they have. And especially defense was not our strong suit last year. It really wasn't at all. It was mind-boggling. It gave me a heart attack every week. So
I love the analysis. It's you know, and
it gave me a heart attack every single week. So we build that up, we'll be fine.
You know what? If the U and Ohio State, I mean, there's a playoff these days. If they somehow, and I don't know how, but if they somehow, we'll have to bring you back in. Jadyn Cohee, thank you so much for your time here on NBC4 Sports Extra, and also for just being here, part of our team for these last few weeks, and we wish you the best of luck heading back to school. And that will do it for this edition of NBC4 Sports Extra. Until next time, I'm David de Guzman. We will catch you later.
Thanks for watching. For more NBC4, download the NBC4 streaming app. You'll get free 24/7 local programming streamed straight to your living room. Just search NBC4 Columbus on your Apple TV, Amazon Fire, or Roku.